episode.
Yeah.
So they get the title first. The ladybird literally just landed on you. Oh, that is so
Like a
cute.
flower!
It landed. It thought it was a real flower.
Oh, it goes to my nails. Oh. Hi everyone, and welcome to
Generation Gap.
Oh.
Episode 3.
Episode 3. 1, 2, 3.
Oh. Milo's here as the star of the show.
Obviously, always.
Oh, and he's getting your trousers lovely and muddy.
Oh no, it's worth it. It's worth it. So, what are we talking about today then, Mum?
We thought we had a little chat earlier, and we thought we'd talk about hobbies. And one of the reasons for that is here we are sitting in somewhere, one of my favourite spots of the garden, which is my veg patch.
Beautiful, beautiful veg patch as well. Not just, useful, but slightly not sexy potatoes, which are delicious, by the way. But
You haven't seen my potatoes.
No, they are delicious. But do you know what I mean? It's not
Yeah,
like your
yeah.
run-of-the-mill veg patch. It's,
Aww.
beautiful dahlias, which are one of my favourites, and I think one of your favourite flowers. And we've got a few sweet peas behind us there. And
it's sort of a little bit sad because here we are in October, and we're right at the end of the season, and I'm stretching it out as much as possible. And I was hoping in another episode we might go down to the polytunnel.
Yes,
because that's still. So I'm really delighted that we've caught it today here in the veg garden, because one frost and it will look very different here. Yeah, most of it will go brown.
Usually lasts this long in the season, or because it's been quite a warm year, hasn't it?
It's a really good question without boring you rigid and lapsing into giving you a lecture on horticulture. You'd expect things to be around still. A little bit depends when you've planted things, when you've sown your seeds, which crops you're growing, how well irrigated or watered you've kept things, and the weather has a big factor with it. So we can, whenever we have a frost, that's a big turning point. And suddenly anything that's tender like tomatoes or squashes, they're gone really, or dahlias. It is. And then you get to look forward to them next year. So
it's always next year.
And that's the wonderful thing about gardening, is there's always next year to start thinking about and planning for. And I think it kind of keeps me young. It's constant looking ahead, which I like. And also, however disastrous, I've been gardening a long time now, most of my life, and I definitely still have disasters and things, because I'm always trying new things. But the wonderful thing is you just say, oh, I'll try it again differently next year. So it's this lovely self-renewing opportunity, which is really cool. Milo knows that, don't you, Milo? He's something of an expert.
I think that's really beautiful. I like it keeps you young, and it's always something to look forward to. I think that's really lovely.
It is.
And it's practical as well, because it's great for your fitness.
Yeah.
Because you're walking around and planting stuff, which, probably, I'm sure, burns actually quite a few calories, walking around like all day.
Yeah.
And you're planting foods to eat,
absolutely,
and flowers to pick and admire. So it's a good hobby to
There's
have.
nothing more pleasing than giving someone a bunch of flowers, and just as you hand them over, you say, "Yes, I grew them myself."
Love it. In a vase, which I made, which is my hobby and interest.
Absolutely,
so there you go, tying it all nicely.
And I'm so proud of your ceramics and what you've done with that.
I'm quite proud as well.
Yeah, you got your own wheel and your own kiln.
Very, very blessed. Very blessed. Yes.
I'm not saying that to make you grateful.
Which I am.
How
anyway.
grateful are you?
No, I am anyway, and I really appreciate that.
I know you will, Danny.
But behind us is a not so attractive pool there. That is the pool house. Which is, I'm very lucky, my own ceramic studio. How lucky am I? So yes, I have a throwing wheel, which I think I've done quite well at for no tutoring.
You've done really well.
Thank you, Mum. Do have a tutor on the way. But yeah, it's just really fun to just play around with it, and I have my very own kiln, and I've just got dozens of glazes, and I've really, really enjoyed that. So
that's great.
So yeah, we sometimes do. I have made a few vases.
Yeah, and I've filled them with flowers.
We'll say that has not even touched a supermarket. It's
exactly. We know it's organic. It's got absolutely 0 air miles.
Yeah.
It's travelled about 100 yards.
Literally, yeah.
And it's super fresh. So I had a salad actually for lunch today. And I think I picked it. It was actually from the polytunnel, but it could have come from here.
Well, still from
from the garden.
Yeah.
And I think from picking to eating was about 25 minutes.
Amazing. It's going to be so much healthier for you.
I would hope so. Yeah, and again, I don't want to bore you rigidly. I am passionate and therefore rather prone to go on.
Yeah, not at all.
But I think the other wonderful thing about growing vegetables as a hobby or as a profession, but as a hobby is sort of our theme, isn't it, in this episode, is that you can choose your varieties that you grow. So any vegetables that you buy in the supermarket, yes, they're selecting things for flavour and colour and everything, but primarily they need varieties that are going to last a long time on the shelf and that can exist in a plastic bag, or because they're a shop and they're there to make money, aren't they?
Yeah.
Whereas you can just choose purely the varieties that
is the most delicious.
The most delicious, and you don't have to worry about any of that stuff. So I love that freedom actually that you get from growing your own food. It's really nice to try a different variety each year. It's a passion. It's a career as well as a hobby for me, gardening, and I consider myself super lucky that I've been able to take something that I really care about, has given me hours of pleasure as a hobby, and then turn it into something that I can make money out of.
I think that's a really cool thing.
It's kind of living the dream, isn't it, really?
That's, a lot of people's life goals, isn't it? So
yeah.
I think that's really cool.
It is. It's kind of a double-edged sword, I think, and when I speak with my students, quite often people are concerned if they take their hobby and turn it into a career, into a profession, that they might lose their kind of, escape valve of all the stresses of life, which often is what hobbies are.
Yeah.
But actually for me with horticulture, it's such a broad topic. It's such a bottomless bit of knowledge that you're never going to run out of things to learn. So that's not happened to me yet.
No. Just one day, just teacher saying, I think that's everything.
Yeah, exactly. I've learned all 4,000 ferns and 900 conifers, and now I
don't know what a conifer is.
Oh, well, we're sitting right next to some. The guys can't see it because it's behind the camera or the phone. But we've got trees. It's sort of evergreen trees. Yeah, basically. Oh. Yeah, there can be shrubs, but mostly trees. Absolutely. Yeah.
I just think of them as little Christmas trees, which are not even.
That is a conifer.
Yeah. Oh, is it?
Yeah, absolutely it is. Absolutely. Because quite often Christmas trees are just baby big trees.
Yeah, that's
They just haven't been grown for so long. Speaking of Christmas trees.
It's Christmas soon! We are very fond
We're
of
a bit
Christmas.
obsessed in our house.
No, nothing wrong with that. We're very fond of Christmas in our house. And I've recently got my own Christmas tree!
Yay!
Which is very exciting. First one ever. And we picked out all the baubles, didn't we? And I'm going for a pink theme. It's going to live in my lovely pool house.
We're going to have to do an episode from there when the tree's
done. 100%.
So people can see it. And here we are. We haven't even had Halloween yet.
I know. We're not the biggest fans of Halloween, personally.
No.
It's just not my favourite thing. But I do enjoy a carved pumpkin.
Yes.
That I do enjoy.
We have some in the house awaiting your skills.
We do. Yeah. And chocolate apples. From
toffee apples or chocolate?
Actually, from Tesco's, the supermarket near us. They have toffee and chocolate. I find toffee sticks to your teeth.
Yeah, it does. That's true.
like toffee, but toffee apples is a bit sticky and a bit tricky.
And scarily red, as if there's some kind of colouring. Well, I guess
it is Halloween.
I guess that is the point. It's that penny has just dropped, but it always looks a bit. They're probably fine, but it always looks a bit food colouring, sort of full on to me. Yeah. Don't get that with your homegrown apples.
No, you don't do. Or pumpkins, which because you grow beautiful. What they called
squashes.
Yeah, squashes, and they so squashes are different than pumpkins.
Well, pumpkins are a form of squashes. But it's just thinking of them as different colours and shapes. Like you can get lots of colours and shapes of dogs. You can get lots of colours and shapes of squashes. Absolutely.
This is my favourite colour and shape.
Yeah. He is a little pumpkin.
He is a little pumpkin boy.
Oh, and he's tired. Oh. But the other good thing about having a vegetable garden, I'm going to keep coming back to that.
I love it.
I'm sorry, I am obsessed. But when you were little, it was a really good way of engaging you in eating vegetables.
Ooh, I like it.
Yeah, so I really recommend that if anyone's got children which are slightly vegetable a verse.
Yes.
And you've always been really good with your fruit.
Oh, thank you.
And you
Yeah,
you
getting
do
better
eat
with
some
my
veg.
vegetables,
No, you
yes.
do. But you know, mums always are trying to cram as many vegetables into their kids as possible. So lots of little tips like getting your children, and it'll be the same with your children one day.
One day.
Not for a while,
No.
but is getting the children to actually sow the seeds.
Yeah, definitely.
So that it's their carrots that
Yeah.
they've grown themselves.
And that must be, one, is great for the vegetables, but also a bit of independence.
Yeah.
I feel it's giving them that sort of like, oh my god, I made this myself.
Yeah.
Which I feel like is a really good skill to give a child.
Absolutely. And do you remember that excitement of pulling out the carrots?
Yeah, because
Do you
I
remember-
even planted mine this year, didn't
Yeah.
I? And when you pull it out, it's like that. I've seen it go from a little tiny seed. It's very cool.
It
It's
is
very
really
fulfilling,
cool.
actually.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
I think it's so good for the soul. I would
Yeah.
say. And the other there's all kinds of fun things you can do with kids. And one day when I'm a granny, I'll be doing them hopefully. Is if you're growing courgettes and you've got little tiny baby courgettes coming, if you just very gently scratch the name of the child into the courgette, as the courgette
That's so
grows,
cool.
the name gets bigger and bigger, and that
love
you know
it.
kids love that, and then you can get them to eat the courgette.
Yeah, it's got your name on it.
Literally, exactly.
It's really cool, isn't
Yeah.
it? Wow.
So I feel really blessed that I was called to this as a hobby. By this I mean gardening, and even more blessed that I've been able to make it into a career as well. Absolutely. But I was thinking before we sort of started our chat, you know, well, what are my hobbies? Because gardening's the obvious one. And I think I realised it's sort of anything creative. I think my hobby
It's
is being
creativity.
creative. And I sort of think it manifests in cooking.
Yeah.
And
Oh
it-
my god. Yeah.
you know?
Honestly, your salads
Oh,
are beautiful. Which
thank
she
you.
grows herself, and then puts these, beautiful sweet peas or what some
So
lovely
can you think of-
nasturtiums.
Nasturtiums we
which
have.
we have.
Yes. Calendulas.
Calendulas, violets.
Violets are very good. Borage.
Borage. I like
Yes,
borage.
they're nice blue flower.
Yeah.
So yes, there's lots of. You can use rose petals.
Oh, can you?
Yeah,
to eat?
yeah.
Oh, I
It's-
didn't know that.
Yeah, for sure,
Oh.
for sure.
So would you sprinkle that on a salad then or something?
Totally, absolutely.
Never heard of that.
Yeah, yeah.
I love it.
And you can crystallise them, and yeah.
Can you? So what? I've heard of that. What is that? Just like a little snack? So you
Yeah,
crystallise it.
or
and
you
eat
can
it,
decorate
or-
cakes with them. So basically, you just pack sugar around them, and it just and become like little sweets, effectively.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So we always say, don't we, when we're preparing food, that you sort of eat with your eyes.
Yes.
Before you eat with your sort of stomach, effectively. So yeah, I do like to make food look pretty. So yeah, anything creative, because I like painting and drawing. Anything that involves
Fashion, I would
Yeah.
say, for me personally, is creative, and that's sort of quite artistic. I think.
Absolutely. And you're writing. You like writing stories.
I do.
and that's
I
creative.
haven't written in a while, but I have won, like 4, I think, awards.
How
Back in
proud am
my
I?
day.
Super proud.
Back in my day when I was a little tot. Yeah, I've always really, like you, it's my dyslexia, which I'm very grateful to have. I am also very creative, which I think is a really wonderful skill, because I might have said this on the pod before. I don't think I have. I think I saw a video once where it's saying what makes us human, and someone said creativity.
I agree with that.
And I thought that's really beautiful.
I really
'cause
do.
We say that too. Is why we are gifted with dyslexia is because computers can do their adding up and the spelling. Which if you can do that, I am a bit jealous of you. Well done.
Me too.
But
Yeah.
we are, and everyone. I think everyone's creative, but I think
Yeah.
as dyslexic people, we are extra creative.
Yeah.
So
No,
yeah.
I really agree with this idea that it's what makes us human beings. I really do, and I'm very often teaching people creativity who've had no creative experience, and quite often people come to that later in life.
Interesting.
So
you
they
think
might-
it would be when they're a child?
Exactly. Well, I think we're all very comfortable with being creative when we are a child, and I think you've really hit on something there. And there's a sort of famous quote which I will probably butcher and won't remember, but it's something along the lines of, if you go into a classroom with 5-year-olds and say who's creative, who likes art, every single hand in the room goes up. And then each year there's fewer and fewer until you get to the teenagers, and there's kind of one sulky, embarrassed person.
And the people haven't changed. It's the self-esteem.
It's
isn't
self-esteem. It's believing that you can do it. And I think, you know, we live in a world where logic is very important, and sometimes logic can sort of elbow creativity out of the way. And I train a lot of people who have done the right thing, done what their parents wanted them to do, which is a career which is a kind of safe career, and parents will advise that for all the right reasons. So they've maybe been an accountant or a nurse, or, you know, a proper sensible job in inverted commas, not obviously wonderful, but they just don't feel fulfilled with it. Or maybe they did when they were younger, and they get to sort of middle age, older, and it's just they feel a calling to do something else. They feel a calling.
Interesting, isn't it?
They literally feel that calling, that there's some part of themselves which is not being sort of satisfied by what they're doing. And I see so many people, and to be honest, it's my favourite part of my job when I'm training garden designers, is that they come and they kind of know they can do it, but they kind of can't even admit it to themselves, and they're very nervous around. Maybe they had an art teacher that was unkind to them, or they had some kind of negative experience, or even a positive experience where they were just told, no, that's not for you, you're a scientist, or whatever. As I say, nothing wrong with that. But to be able to then reach back into that person's creativity and show it to them, you know, and prove to them that yes, they are creative, that's a wonderful thing to be able to do.
That's really beautiful.
And I really enjoy that so much. It's a real privilege, actually. And you know, we've been running the school here for 14 years, as you know, and we've never failed anyone yet. So, and no matter,
there you go. That's really beautiful.
No matter how convinced people are that they're not creative, it's in us all. It really is. So yeah, I'm very, very proud to be able to sort of work with people and do that, and yeah, consider myself very lucky. And,
I think that's really beautiful, and I think it must be really fulfilling for yourself as well.
Very much.
Because you get to almost live through them, you know, when they're rediscovering their own creativity. It's almost like you get to also discover it along with them as well.
Yes.
And that must be really, really beautiful.
It's true. It's very true. And I try and sort of break it down to a simple idea. And what I often say to my students, I was saying it yesterday actually when I was teaching, is that we're trying to reconnect with our, what I call our inner child. Not just me call that, obviously lots of people call it that, but I literally use that phrase when I'm talking to students. And I talk about the inner child, because that's still that 5-year-old who's still got their hand up in the classroom saying, I love art and I can do it.
Yeah,
and I'm not afraid that I'm going to get it wrong.
Yeah,
I want to colour outside the lines, and I want to, you know, make a mess, and I want to play, because a lot of creativity comes out of playing, and the more nervous and logical you are, it stifles that play. So
I really resonate with that, actually.
Do you?
I'm thinking on my own experiences as I've gotten older, and I've tried to be like a serious painter, and I'm being so hard on myself that I just
almost trying too hard.
Because that's no creativity, isn't it? When you put these rules, I agree with you, trying too hard. But when you put these barriers, like, no, it can't do this and it can't do that, then you're not creative. So then you're trying to paint logically, which doesn't sound too possible, does it?
And that's really normal. That's not a failing on your part. That's kind of how it is. And I think I used to teach on a foundation course in London, and we used
St. Martin.
It was
Name drop.
Clunk.
My wonderful mother.
But we used to sort of spend the first term undoing, you know, the kind of damage to some extent done by A-level art.
Yeah.
A-level art, wonderful. If people are doing A-level art, fantastic, and you will learn amazing drawing skills.
Do you know what? Sorry to interrupt you. I do know quite a few people who have said, don't do A-level art if you love art, because it will make you not like it. So.
And I'm slightly reeling back and being a bit nervous, because I think it's not dangerous. I think I would encourage me particularly, not to be judgmental, because there will be,
definitely,
and I know I'm not accusing you of that.
But I just know a lot of people who've said that.
Yeah,
it's not my opinion.
And that experience is very valid. But I think, you know, somewhere out there there'll be an amazing artist who did A-level art and it resonated with them. But I definitely experienced a lot of people who got slightly shut down by that experience. And I think it's this idea that there's a way to do something.
Yeah, 100%.
Which you know, to some extent there is.
Which to some people there is.
You know, you've got to hold your pencil the right way around, and you know. But with creativity, often when you don't do it the right way, that's actually when the magic happens. You know, I sort of say to my students, an example is a slightly more curvaceous lady. I tend to, there's sort of, you know, more of a shapely, curvy lady, curvaceous. You know, I tend to normally avoid horizontal stripes because they make me look and certainly feel bigger than I am. But I've got an absolutely killer taffeta ball gown, which is black and white, bold horizontal stripes, which basically says I'm size 18, get over it. And it's because it breaks the rules.
Yeah.
That it kind of works.
Isn't it? Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's it. I think you can't really have pigeonholes with creativity. But anyway, so as I say, we did try and free people up on that foundation course to get away from this sort of narrow idea
what art is.
Of this
Which
is what art
idea,
is.
Because art is whatever you make it.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because at the same time you're trying to teach it, at the same time you have to define it to some extent.
Yeah, that's true.
But on the other hand, you don't want to over-define it.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah.
And we can all have our own relationship to what is art.
Yeah,
I think that's
I agree
really
with
important. What my art is, it can be entirely different to what your art is, and that's really important. So that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. I love it.
Excellent.
But I really agree with you. I think I love that. I think art is an expression of who we are.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that it's different because we are all individual beings.
100%.
Aren't we? So I agree with you. I think honestly, I really mean it. I think your salads that you make
Oh,
are really beautiful, and I
thank
really
you.
do see that as an art form.
Yeah.
And for me, I really do find fashion as an art form. Whereas some people, which is absolutely fair, just chuck it on because it keeps them warm. They don't really think about it, which is absolutely fine. But I think it's what it means to us, isn't it?
Yeah. There's
and
a really interesting sort of hierarchy, and this is something that's interested me ever since I was your age, actually, which is that this tends to exist out there, this idea that you've got art, and then you've got design, and then you've got crafts. And art tends to be at the top because you can sort of philosophize about it, and you've got high art, and it's kind of meaningful.
Maybe it's been around for a while.
Maybe
Yeah.
been around longer. Yes, it has.
Maybe,
Not
yeah.
maybe, it definitely
Like oil
has.
paintings
Good
and
point.
stuff, yeah.
Absolutely. And then sort of below that, you've got design because it's mass produced and it's less selective and it's less.
So what would design? Could you
Well,
give me a category?
I think it's a really good point because I've struggled all my life to really find that definition of right. Here is art, here is design, because I think the two things cross over. And there's lots of famous artists like Andy Warhol,
Yes.
for instance, who did those screen prints with Campbell's soup using industrial printing techniques intentionally to provoke that debate.
Interesting.
Because ultimately, if you can, think of some of the things, and I'm not knocking it, but some of the things you see in art galleries, like urinals or piles of bricks or whatever, they're mass produced as well. So honestly, I don't know the
nice.
distinction, and that might just be because I'm ill-informed.
No, not at all.
It possibly is, but I'm someone who's been to art college and design college.
Oh, really? Wow.
And I don't really understand the difference. But craft tends to be handmade stuff, quite often done by women, whereas historically art was quite often done by guys. Not exclusively, but they tended to be the more famous ones.
That's true. Yeah, when you think about artists.
Yeah, and the history of craft is it's quite often done for free, or it doesn't have a value in the way that design does, and then art, it's really interesting, that hierarchy. I think it has broken down a lot. I think it's got further to go. I think there's a bit of snobbery between the disciplines.
As with most things, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like if you want to insult an artist, call them a designer. But which is a very sweeping thing. But I think, I've experienced that in my life, certainly. So yeah, it's an interesting debate. So where do hobbies fit into that? I guess it depends what your hobby is.
Well, I would say my hobbies are crafts then, because I'm really into ceramics, which I would say is a craft then.
Yeah, and I think you couldn't really say art is a hobby because art takes itself quite seriously, and so the whole definition of a hobby is it's something you do on the side, isn't it? Although
true.
we started this conversation saying you can turn your hobby into a career as well.
But I would say that there is definitely a change there, because you turn your hobby into a career.
Yeah.
So you're literally saying it starts as a hobby.
Yeah, and it evolves.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, crafts I think are my thing. And I know you did knitting.
Yes.
You did for your diploma. Did you get?
Yes, my degree.
Degree.
Yep, same thing. Really.
I don't know the words.
I wouldn't worry. It's the same
Degree's
thing.
higher up, isn't it?
Well,
not that it
technically,
matters,
but not that it matters at all.
So would that be considered a craft?
Well,
'Cause it's
that's
hand-done?
probably why I wrote my dissertation actually about exactly what I was
Oh,
just
really?
talking. Yeah. So I've had a chip on my shoulder about it ever since then, really. And yeah, it absolutely. What started me thinking it was I'd done knitwear on my degree, and then I was lucky enough to go to the Royal College of Art. Can't mention that enough times. Clunk, where I did fashion design, and I found this incredible sort of mismatch between how we were perceived as craftspeople, knitters, by the other fashion design students, because they hadn't done knitwear to start with, they'd just done fashion. So you do your degree and then you do an MA. So they'd done design all the way through, and we were perceived as people who'd started off in a craft and then moved into design, and we were seen very differently. It was really interesting, and there's nothing like a bit of, probably all in my head, but perceived prejudice to really get you thinking about something.
I think it's great to think about.
That's why I ended up sort of writing that dissertation about it. So I think it all crosses over.
Yeah.
I think it all merges. I think it depends how you perceive it, how you market it, how other people perceive it. You know,
what
I
it
think
means to you. I
yeah,
like
what it
coming
means
back
to you
that,
personally.
but
No,
I
I think
whatever
that's
you want to make it.
yeah.
as.
I think it's a good thing to come back to. Actually, absolutely it is. But yes, I think hobbies sitting in crafts is probably right, as you're saying. Absolutely. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So yeah, my hobbies, I would say definitely ceramics.
Yes.
My hobbies, actually, I've just recently found them. I'd say in the last sort of year, which is really nice because I've sort of just discovered them. I would say my big three: filmmaking, in any form, even if it's silly little TikToks which I don't even post. Just making it, you know me, I love a before and an after. So even just making a, you know, cleaning out Molly, our white dog who you haven't met yet, has her own pool because she is so wonderful. She deserves her own pool.
And also she makes a terrible mess. And
Yeah.
we can keep it away from everything else, can't we? Which is quite a good thing.
Exactly. She's got lots of energy because she's a very big dog. So she has her own pool, and in the summer when it gets all, is it algae or algae?
That's it. Well,
Algae.
good question.
It's an American versus English thing. I don't know which is the right one.
Oh, what do I say? I
think you say algae.
I think I do say algae, but I am dyslexic.
Algae sounds more right to me.
Yeah, algae always sounds a bit like someone's name to me, like Angie.
Algae
Or
just sounds...
algebra.
Oh, algae sounds like a baby saying it though. Algae, algae.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like you're not fully pronouncing
Neither of
it.
them sound right.
No. Algae.
Let's say green stuff.
Green stuff.
Yeah.
When Molly's pool gets all filled with green stuff, I love doing a before and after. So I think simple things like that, it's really silly. I'll just do a before and after.
But that's creative.
With music and the transition, and
Yeah.
that makes me really happy. I don't know, I've always really loved filmmaking.
So do we think that's an important definition of a hobby? It has to make you happy.
Yeah.
I think so.
100%,
Yeah.
think
Otherwise,
so,
why
yeah.
are you doing it?
Yeah.
You know. So
I
that's a
agree
good
with
place
you.
to start, isn't it? What's my hobby? What makes me happy?
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
Definitely. Interesting. That's a good point. Yeah, I agree with that.
And
think
I
it's really
interrupted
nice.
your flow, so you were saying your hobbies.
Yes.
So
My hobbies, I think I have, three. So filmmaking, ceramics, and figure skating. And I'm going figure skating later on today.
yay!
I'm very lucky. I go 2 or 3 times a week, which I'm very, very blessed. I bloody love figure skating. I can talk about it for ages. I've done it since late January, and it's late October now. So what's that?
Amazing.
Almost a year. January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October. Oh yeah, 9 months. Anyway, a while. And I just really love it. And do you know what? I was thinking, like, why do I love it? And I almost don't know. And I almost really like that.
Yeah.
I feel very drawn to it, and I don't really know why, to be honest. It's interesting. I like that it's quite a I like that it's a solo, or like a thing you can do on your own, or it's a thing you can do with people. You've got that choice, which is quite unusual sometimes, isn't it? But I think it's quite a nice, for me it almost is that mindfulness, because it's like I go into like my skating, and I just really, I have my friends there, which I really enjoyed the socialising part, but I also just really enjoy just doing it on my own and sort of having my own time.
Yeah.
And just listening to music, and then just sort of skating and just sort of letting it flow.
Amazing.
It's really hard to explain, but I just feel like a lot of love for it.
Oh,
and
I love that.
really, honestly, the second I leave the rink, I'm thinking, when can I go next? I really am. I'm
amazing.
planning out. I'm saying, 3 more days until I can go next. And I'm
that's
planning,
amazing.
what am I going to practice?
Oh.
And it's funny, I was thinking about it yesterday. It's not the same, but it's almost like the feeling of being in love, actually. A little bit, not the same.
Yeah.
But almost like being in love with the thing. Because like when you're there, it's just like your heart is just filled with love,
That's
and you're
so
just so
beautiful.
excited. And then when you leave, you just miss it, and you're just thinking about it, and when can I go next? And
Yeah.
So
I love that.
I don't know, that thought cropped up yesterday, and I
Yeah.
thought, oh, I've never thought about it.
Well,
like
we were
that
saying that
before.
earlier. That a definition of a hobby is something that you
That's
love,
true.
isn't it? So
There you go.
Yeah,
There you go.
I love that.
But not only loving it, almost being in love
with it, yeah.
Which is for me, and what's really lovely, all my wonderful friends at the rink, they are also the same.
Oh.
And it's really lovely. Like I tell you, we have this skating chat, and it's, you know, most people my age you meet through school, which is somewhere you have to be, isn't it? Well, luckily I'm very very lucky, but you have to be at school, don't you, unless you choose otherwise. So it's sort of the first time I've really talked to people, and they've also had that passion, saying, "Oh my god, I can't wait till I can go to the rink again." And they're doing off-ice practice, practicing their jumps, you know, because they can't go to the rink, so they're just doing as much as they can. And I think being around that energy is really beautiful, and finding people with the same passions.
Absolutely.
I think it's really, really lovely.
I so love that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And I am in awe of how much you've
Oh,
improved
thank you.
in those short 9 months, because you've gone from being an absolute beginner
Yeah.
to, I don't know any of the names, but you show me
Well,
the
I
videos.
thought I could show some. I could try and do some.
Yeah, I'd love to.
I can do 2 things. I can do a waltz jump and a spiral.
Nice.
I can't do any spins, obviously. I was practicing my spirals yesterday. Okay, I haven't stretched, so it might not be the best.
Look at that! Oh, that's so beautiful.
So that's the spiral.
Wow.
And it's
well
called
done.
that. I asked my coach, I said, why is it called that? Because you're just going in a straight line. I'm just practicing it in a straight line, and you're supposed to end up going around the full rink.
Wow.
And then you end up spiralling in.
Ah, love that.
Which I'm getting now. I'm getting there.
Nice.
And then I can do a waltz jump for you as well.
Yes,
I'm doing a
please.
half rotation, so it's
Only.
the easiest jump. But it's a lot harder on the ice. I'm gonna
It's
have to
half
lift you
more
now.
than I could do, that's
Aw,
for sure.
thank
Shall I hold
Give
it?
you the milk.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Wow, amazing.
Yay! So I practice that all the
Beautiful.
time. Thank you.
Very, very nice. Well
Yeah,
done. That's
thank
lovely.
you.
Aw.
So figure skating, that and ceramics, I absolutely love as well. And I feel like I have a different relationship with them. Which
Yes,
is interesting.
that is interesting. The
I
other
know.
thing that makes Mum very happy is you've never fallen over, not yet.
No, never. Which makes me not unhappy.
No.
Annoyed because
you've got
you're
to.
supposed to fall over, and I'm really like, I don't want to fall over.
Oh.
So I haven't quite learned as quickly as I would have done
Yeah.
if I had fallen over. But do you know what? It's all in a mindset. Which I used to do trampoline wall, which I bloody loved. But it is quite far away, the place, and there's only like a few in England, and I don't know, figure skating took over for me.
Yeah.
But at the time that really
But
fueled me.
I think, sorry to interrupt you, I think a lot of the skills from your tramp wall have been very transferable.
I think so, yeah,
like kind of
definitely.
core strength,
Yeah,
things like that. Yeah.
And legs and that. So
Yeah.
if you don't know trampoline wall, it's very fun, but there's very few places that do it, which is a shame. So it's like a trampoline on the floor, and then there's a wall up there, and you bounce on your back, and then you run up the wall.
It looks basically like Spider-Woman.
Yeah, it's hard to do. People underestimate how hard it is
Yeah.
to just keep up that wall, because when you start as a beginner, you just go, ugh. But I can
Yeah.
run up, I don't know, like, what, so Dad's like 6 foot, maybe 10 foot?
Amazing.
Maybe?
It is
Probably
amazing.
no, probably less than that.
Oh.
At least Dad, I can run up on my back, at least higher than
It does
you know,
look
a
really
tall
cool.
man. So anyway, why was I talking about trampoline? Talking about figure skating.
Falling, not falling.
Yes, that was it. Falling, not falling.
Hey.
We just had about a minute of trying to remember what I was talking about because I completely forgot. So thank you, Mum. Yes,
What
falling.
made you forget? What made you forget what you were
I
talking
just went on a
about?
tangent about trampoline,
Oh,
and then
dear.
I forgot about it.
Oh dear, I think you got that from me because I
There,
do that
that's
all
all.
the time.
Thank you for reminding me.
Not at all.
Yes, falling. That's it. Thank you. It's all in the mindset.
Don't you think that's true of lots of things?
Definitely.
It's in the
definitely,
mindset,
yeah.
you know, and going back to creativity as well.
Yeah.
I think if you believe you can do it, once I've proved to people, look, you've done it, that's a creative thing you've just created, you've made, then people, it's like you've lit a fire in somebody and it just goes on its own. Once you've
proved it to themselves.
Once they believe
can
it.
Look at it. And,
Yeah.
It's that tangible thing.
Yeah,
Isn't it?
so this is a strange story to tell at this moment, but I'm going to tell it anyway. It's like I read in a book that in the 60s, when people were flying, it was quite a new thing, flying in an aeroplane.
I know what you're saying.
And so everyone needed those little bags on the seat in front of them, or behind the seats in front of them, to sort of make use of, because they weren't, their mind couldn't really process the idea they were flying in the air, and it's
Really
such a new
interesting,
alien
isn't it?
thing to people. Whereas now, most people, sadly not all people,
No.
don't need them.
Yeah.
Because we've sort of assimilated the idea as a collective
Really
that it's okay to
interesting.
fly. So psychology has so much to do with so many things, doesn't it? If you believe you can do something.
Yeah, I think so. I think we're capable of a lot more things that we believe we are. But I think that is absolutely incredible, because the flying hasn't changed.
No.
Well, it has a bit. You know,
I guess
planes
a
have
bit.
evolved a
That's
little
true.
bit.
Yeah,
a little
that's
bit.
true.
But,
That's true.
But I do think it is in the mindset. I think that
Yeah.
is just really interesting.
Yeah.
I
mean,
but yeah, with sorry,
No.
with trampool, a lot of it is hard, but a lot of it's jumping off of the wall, which isn't that far down because you're jumping onto a soft trampoline.
Yeah.
But a lot of it is in the mindset, and trampool was really useful to me because it really proved how much in the mindset that it was.
Okay.
Because I could easily jump off of there. Well, not crazy easily because I had that practice.
Yeah.
But it's just some days I just would go there and I just can't do it, and it's
Yeah.
all in the mindset.
Yeah.
And I used to stand up there looking down and thinking, oh my god, that's a big drop, I can't do this.
Yes.
Whereas if I would just be like talking to someone and say, I'm trying not to think about it, I'm just going
Yeah,
with the
yeah,
flow,
yeah,
blah, blah,
yeah.
blah, do it, easy. It's all in the mindset.
It is.
And same with figure skating. And why that whole long-winded story was about is that recently, even though I still haven't fallen, which weirdly I want to do because then I can get it over
Of course,
with.
I don't want it to do, but anyway.
And I'll do really safely. And my friends have fallen over hundreds of times,
Yeah.
and they're absolutely fine.
Yeah.
They fall over 10 times a session, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But why I want to fall is it gets over that bridge. So I thought, hang on, getting over that bridge is a mindset. So I thought, well, I'm just going to bloody do it without falling over. And I still do want to fall over very softly, just because. But recently I changed my mindset and I was really proud of myself, and I said to my coach, oh, can you tell a difference of my confidence today, last week? And he said, I really can, yeah.
Oh, amazing.
Because I just came at it of, look, if I fall, I'm going to be careful. My friend taught me how to fall properly, so thank you, Anna.
That's important, isn't it?
It is important. And I just changed the mindset, and then I enjoyed it more. I tell you what, I enjoyed it more.
Interesting.
Because I pushed myself carefully, but I pushed myself thinking, what's the worst that's going to happen? You're going to
Wonderful.
fall on your bum, and then you'll be fine.
That's probably really good for your confidence in life generally.
Honestly, trampoline, I remember that. Just
Yeah.
knowing that I jumped off of that thing, that
Yeah.
really did help with my
Yeah.
confidence. So
It's in fact like when I gave birth to you. Jill, sorry to remind you of that. So
No, don't
literally,
apologise.
as we talked about before, when I was 40, and I really wanted to have a natural birth, and pretty much managed it until right at the very end. And it took 2 days for you to be born. It was quite a long, drawn out
2
affair,
days of labour.
which is tough on the baby as well as the mother.
Yeah,
you know,
that's
that
true.
was you, because it's quite a physical thing for the baby too. So you were a
Which
tough.
no one talks about.
No. So you were a tough little thing even then.
Well, I couldn't do 2 days of labour.
But one of the things that kept me going was the midwife asked me to give her a picture of myself, believe it or not, finishing the marathon in London, which I ran. It was 1999.
Oh,
I
that's a good
remember.
year. No. Oh, no.
It was. And there was this photo of me crossing the finish line, and she kept showing me that picture, and she kept saying, look, if you can do that, you can do this. And it really helped, actually. It really did. So
Reminding
yeah.
your own self of your strength.
Yeah.
Saying, I've done that.
Yeah.
Which is a bit similar to the creative thing, isn't it? Like, look, you've done that, you saying to your students, you've done that creative thing.
Exactly.
So you can do something
Yeah.
else.
Yeah.
It's all comes down, as we always talk about, to sort of self-esteem
Yeah.
and self-confidence, isn't it?
Yeah. It is.
Believing that you can do it, which is what we were
Absolutely,
talking about,
absolutely.
so.
And to sort of bring things back to more the kind of generation gap theme, I was just, while you were talking, just trying to think in my head, I wonder what generationally is different between hobbies, sort of when I was your age. I think perhaps when I was your age, hobbies were a bit more important because we didn't have
Phones.
Technology. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think,
That's
you know,
interesting.
people did have sort of clubs that they went to. I went to a, this is sexy, I went to a stamp collecting club, for instance, for the real cool
Did
kids.
you? I didn't know
Yeah,
you did that.
I did. I mean, when I was
Oh.
really little.
Yeah.
But that was a thing because people didn't have, you know,
Yeah.
which was nice because it was kind of, although stamp collecting in itself, weird hobby, not that creative, but I did love it actually.
Oh,
I
really? I
really
didn't
did
know
love
that.
stamp collecting when
Oh.
I was very little. But it was actually quite a social thing to go to a club because, and then all very much what you're talking about with the ice skating.
Yeah.
Getting together with other people who got excited
Have
about
that
the same thing.
passion and same like I've actually recently stopped going, but I used to go to the Bristol Old Vic Theatre School like every single Sunday. I've never missed one day. I went for like 4 years, loved it. I just really loved being around people who just had that same fire, that same
Yeah, yeah.
passion. It's just
Fire.
really lovely.
That's a lovely word for it, fire. I think that's a beautiful word for it. So I would like to think maybe if hobbies could get even more important, you know, I think everyone, not everyone, but I think a lot of parents are a little concerned about how much technology is
I'm
around.
a bit concerned as well.
Probably the parents are also, you know,
Yeah.
probably on screens
Oh,
too
no,
much.
no.
And maybe one of the antidotes to that is, after you've finished watching YouTube, of course, one of the antidotes to that is more using your hands and getting into hobbies.
And social clubs, yeah.
Yeah,
Like it.
maybe. Not just
Interesting.
online. It's great to connect online, and being online was an absolute saviour, wasn't it, during lockdowns?
Yeah, definitely.
You know, thank
yeah.
goodness, and I definitely really appreciated it. But it's not quite the same as being in a
No.
room with other human beings.
I agree with you. And sometimes it's better online because you can, you know, reach someone quickly and just
Yeah.
check in, just say, you know, how are you? Or if you want to, you know, make a plan for, you know, oh, let's hang out here, you know,
Yeah.
tomorrow. You can
Yeah.
just do that really quickly.
That's true.
However, I do agree with you. I don't think it is the same thing. I think
Well, your plan could be to meet up and do a hobby.
that's true, exactly. Yeah, but that's what I mean because you
Yeah.
can say that plan on social media, can't you?
Yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
I definitely think it has its uses.
Definitely.
And I think about that sometimes. What is the difference? Especially because I think we are quite emotionally sort of I don't know how you would describe it. Emotionally available and emotionally sort of conscious. Like
Yeah.
we're very conscious of our own emotions and
Yeah.
other people's.
Yeah.
Um,
Quite empathetic.
yeah.
You could say.
So I personally, I'm sure other people can too, but I think maybe I can, maybe more or maybe not, really feel that difference
Yeah.
between online and
Yeah.
in person. And that's why I really like FaceTime. Like I love FaceTime with Maya. Hey! Because I don't like calling because that's really weird. And FaceTime is the closest you can get to being in person.
Yeah.
But even that's different. And I think it's almost like the soul. It's almost like when you're in person, for me, and it might be different for other people, it's like a soul to soul. You're in sort of, getting a bit woo, each other's energy fields, I believe.
Yeah.
And I just feel like you can like express yourself even more. Whereas I think when there's a screen in the middle, and the fact that you're miles away, that just, it's still great and it's still fun, but it is less human, I would say, which is interesting.
It is
coming back to
interesting.
that human.
And you've literally picked up on the exact word I was going to say next. So
yeah.
it's energy.
Yeah.
And I can read energies on a screen to some extent, but it's not the. It's
No,
not
you
the
are
same.
fabulous with reading other people's energies.
Yeah, it's something I seem to have a skill for. But I find it much easier to read someone's energy in a room, definitely. I can pick it up
yeah.
on a screen, but it's not the same. So yeah, I
Yeah,
think
same
you're right
thing,
about that.
yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
And I've always felt that. And I'm sure other people do too, but I feel like maybe I feel it more, or maybe that's just because I'm me and I know what I feel, isn't it? But,
well, I agree with
yeah.
you. That's two of us.
There you go. Milo agrees. Says cheese is better in person than on screen. 'Cause
Yes,
you can't eat it,
you
can you,
can't.
Millie?
That's no good. Oh. Wonderful.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Well,
well, that was a lovely chat.
I think we touched. Do you have any other?
Well, I think we've established that hobbies still matter.
Yes.
Maybe they matter more than ever.
Maybe they're gonna make a comeback.
Maybe. I love that idea. And I think
that's very true, though.
I think hobbies absolutely can work online as well. So I've definitely, it's much more your area of expertise than mine, but I've noticed things like crochet, for instance, which is a classic craft, can become quite trendy.
Oh yeah,
on social
that's,
media,
that's
can't
trendy
it?
at the moment. Absolutely, yeah.
And macrame and things like that.
What's that?
Oh, that's, you know, like plant pot holders that look like they're made out of string.
Yeah, they're lovely. Oh, they are made out of string now, aren't they?
Yeah. And they were like really
they're
in
like
the
woven.
Yeah, and they were really in the 70s, big time.
Yeah,
And then, like all fashions, then they
Comes
become deeply unfashionable.
Yeah.
Because that's the nature of fashion. So my problem is, of my generation, when I see a macrame plant pot holder,
You think of the last one.
I think of it as being associated with little old ladies, because they're the people who had it when I was your age. Whereas to you,
Oh, I think of them as trendy.
you
Yeah,
didn't
yeah.
know it in that incarnation, and it probably existed before then as well, because
Yeah.
things come in and out several. It's like a cycle, I think.
It's interesting.
It
isn't
is.
it?
So
Yeah.
you see things with totally fresh eyes, you know. And
And I'm sure when I'm older, it will, you
Yeah.
know, and then my children, I'm like, oh, what are you doing that for? I won't be judging like that, but I'm like, that's a weird choice, okay.
it's like when you talk about 80s fashion,
Yeah.
because I was there the first time round, and it really fascinates me when I see your take on 80s fashion,
Oh,
which is
really?
your definition of 80s fashion.
What do I wear this age?
So, well, you talk about it and you show me images of it, and I know you talk about how it's slightly got reinvented for Y2K.
Oh,
is
that's not 80s.
Oh, is
that's,
it not?
That's early 2000s.
But
Still,
I think, does
doesn't
that
matter,
nod
does it?
back to the 80s, or have I got that wrong?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
know.
But I've definitely seen you sort of taking an interest in 80s. And we've
Okay.
talked about it before. We talked about puffball skirts and things
I'm not very
like
good
that.
with the
so-
eras, I'm afraid. Like, I can't think what's 80s and what's 70s.
Well, it's a lot easier when you're my age, because you've lived through
Yeah.
them all. So you just look back at them and you remember. But I think every time a trend or a fashion is regurgitated, which it happens a lot, in the 80s, I remember everyone was really into the 60s. I think there's quite often a 20-year gap, actually.
Yeah, you've
when
said that
things
before, and I think that's very true.
I
Because
think-
Y2K's in at the moment, and
Yeah.
that's early 2000s, and
Yeah.
it is 2022, so...
I guess it's a
Makes sense,
generation
doesn't
difference. So the people who are into it the second time round don't remember it the first
It's
time
new
round.
to them.
Yeah.
It's just quite lovely. Everyone gets to go at it.
Yeah, but it's always slightly different.
Yeah.
I say always, I haven't been around
I
forever,
agree.
it feels like it. But like thinking about that 80s thing, it was like the sort of year 2000 version of the 80s.
Oh, see, I didn't even know that.
It's a different slant. So there's definitely very strong elements there, but it's regurgitated and slightly re-put together in a new way, which I like, because it's not just then a history piece.
Yeah.
It's a sort of reinvention of something that existed before. And it was one of the things when I was getting ready for our filming for this, I thought I'd crimp my hair, because this is how
Looks beautiful, by the way. It looks
Thank
really
you.
nice.
You had to say that.
No, that's all.
This is how my hair looked when I was your age. I used to crimp it because it was
Oh.
kind of in the 80s. So
And I was going to say, actually, this is giving me 80s.
Yeah,
Your
yeah.
beautiful bright colours.
I guess, yeah, that's true actually. Absolutely.
What would you say this is?
Oh, that's undefinably you. Because you love your
thank
knitwear,
you.
don't you? And
What era? I'm not very good with
Ooh.
eras. I love it, but I'm
well,
not
not
very good at
everything's a rehash.
No.
Some things are just of the moment. And
If you,
I guess the florals are a bit 1960s.
them.
but
The
they would-
colour's quite 60s. I love pastels.
Yeah, but they wouldn't necessarily have been on a jumper, because I hope you don't mind me saying that's a menswear jumper, which is why I
which
love
is
it
quite
actually.
Interesting.
Yeah, it
isn't
is. So, you know, that in itself is making something of a statement, isn't it? Which I love.
Yeah.
But that sort of floral shape, I would say, is 60s, but not the garment shape, which
What
is
would the
also
garment
fine.
shape be?
Oh, I don't know. I
But
think
it's quite, you know, it's quite a
classic.
boxy jumper, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's not like anything specific.
Yeah, I think you can have core classics which don't change. Things like, well, I was going to say denim jeans, but they do actually.
They do.
don't
Do you know what? They change the most, don't they? 'Cause,
Yeah, They do
and that's
actually.
a good generation gap. Is recently, I think people have gotten over a bit now, but it's weird. People got really angry, and I was like, oh my god, everyone needs to calm down. Do you remember? You might not. Do you remember the debate sort of the last few years ago about skinny jeans and side parts? Do you remember that?
Well, I remember.
might not have been-
I have. The honest truth is, Not a clue
No.
what side parts are.
Just your hair.
Oh!
So middle part.
I thought it was a type of jean.
Oh.
I thought, well, I want a pair of these side parts. They sound really cool.
Could have been a jean.
Could have
Could have
been.
been. Maybe it
Could
will
have
be in the
been.
future.
I was trying to imagine it, and I thought side parts.
Or imagine maybe the seam is cut or
Maybe,
something. I don't
maybe.
know. We need to make some side part jeans. No, people got really angry. It was weird. It was like millennials versus Gen Z, or the one above millennials, I think. And it was like the slightly older people, not old, but you know, slightly older, were saying, "Oh no, we're wearing skinny jeans and side parts because that's trendy now." Because
Okay.
skinny jeans used to be trendy, and now baggy jeans and middle parts are trendy at the moment.
Okay.
So it was this weird debate between them, and everyone got really angry. And I was like, "Guys, it's
But that's
denim.
that's
Calm
quite
down."
common in fashion, you know, that you
Yeah.
get two opposing forces. It's interesting. I don't know why, but there's sort of thinking back to like in the 90s, there was you know, you'd get Oasis. I'm trying to remember the name of the other band, which is really escaping me at the moment. But you'd get pop groups who were sort of criticising each other and going up against each other, and each would have a faction. Or you'd have the mods and the bikers in the 60s who hated
the
each
mods?
other.
What do they
So they
wear?
were just a sort of fashion. Well, they were a lot more than just a fashion look. They were into a particular type of music, and they drove beautiful Vespa scooters, and they wore Parkers. And I had a symbol on their back often, very similar to the generation gap one, actually. And they were very much about being tidy, and they wore suits and they looked very smart. And then the bikers were all kind of wearing leather, and they were kind of, you know, sort of into like heavy metal music.
Yeah.
And for some reason, which I'm not clever enough to know, they hated each other, so they'd have these almighty fights, you know. So I think that sort of two tribes
Has been around for
for a very long time, which is really interesting, isn't it? So yeah, nothing new under the sun.
No.
And the interesting thing about the jeans, you were saying, how we were talking about this sort of generational
Gap?
gap and revisiting of themes, and this idea that something's really cool and then it becomes really uncool,
yeah.
is mom fit jeans,
Yeah,
which is
which are actually a bit out now.
well, but even when they were fashionable, and I know they're not, well, I don't know, I take your word for it, they're not now, but even when they were fashionable for you, I think that's such a lovely example of take a jean. The last thing I want to do is have jeans that look like mum fit, because I'm not aspiring to be a mum.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not saying you were aspiring to be a mum, but it's cool and it's funny if you're a beautiful, slender teenager. It's not cool and funny if you're a mum who's the shape of a mum. You know what I mean? So it's that same idea that it's a different lens on the same sort of thing.
It's interesting, isn't it? Yeah. No, I know exactly what you mean.
So I think for our next little chat for next week, we could talk about Halloween. What do you think? Because that would be.
What should we talk about? Well, we'll have to leave
We'll keep it
to
a
them.
surprise.
Yes. Oh, we'd love to talk about Halloween.
Yeah.
So until then,
Thank you so much for watching.
Definitely.
And sorry to steal your thunder.
No, not at all.
We've got nearly 400 views.
On the
all-
first
I
episode!
know. I'm so grateful.
Thank you so much. Emma. That is
And
really
please
cool.
do feel free to comment.
yes, we would
To
love
suggest
comments.
any topics. Do
Absolutely.
like, share, all that good
Much
stuff.
Subscribe.
Oh, subscribe. Sorry. There's a good
yeah.
generation thing.
Well, sharing's good
I'll
too.
let you do that bit because that's
No,
more
you
your
hit them,
thing.
you hit them.
Oh, did I?
And we're on Instagram as well. At Generation Gap was taken, so it's gen.gap.ig Instagram, which is in the description. So you can just press the link there, and we have some fun images there too.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Thank you so much for
Thank you,
watching. We really
everyone.
appreciate it.
So cool.
And we look forward to chatting again next
Next
week.
week.
Milo says goodbye.